Ken Caminiti's death shocked the world, and it's something that will never be forgotten. He was only 41 years old when his life was cut short, and what made it even more heartbreaking was how addiction slowly took control of him. All throughout his career, he battled injuries. But instead of resting and healing, he chose to push through the pain, relying on painkillers and steroids just to keep playing. Sadly, those choices caught up with him, and in the end, they cost him everything. So let's take a closer look at his story and how things really unfolded. Caminiti's struggles didn't just appear out of nowhere later in life. They had been following him since he was young. His battle with substance abuse really started early. By middle school, he had already begun drinking alcohol, and by high school, he was smoking marijuana. Things only escalated as he grew older. Eventually, he turned to cocaine, and by the 1990s, his biggest vice had become crack cocaine. Even while he was building a reputation as one of baseball's toughest and most talented players, Caminiti was fighting a war behind the scenes. In 1994, he admitted publicly that he had a problem with alcohol, and years later, in 2000, he checked himself into rehab. But the truth was, his problems went far deeper than just drinking. In 2002, just a year after his retirement, Caminiti dropped a bombshell in a Sports Illustrated cover story. He admitted that during his legendary 1996 MVP season, and in several seasons after that, he had used steroids. That confession shook the baseball world to its core. His words even resurfaced in the 2007 Mitchell Report, a massive investigation into steroid use in the sport. But steroids were only one part of his troubled story. Caminiti was constantly battling cocaine addiction as well. In March 2001, he was arrested for possession, which led to probation. Not long after, in February 2003, he tested positive again, violating that probation. The court sent him to a treatment program run by the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. But when the program was eliminated a few months later, he was forced out before he could complete it. During these years, Caminiti was also receiving mental health therapy through MLB's Employee Assistance Program. What many people didn't know until later was that much of his pain came from childhood trauma. In rehab sessions, he shared with others that he had been sexually abused in middle school. He believed those memories haunted him for the rest of his life, and turning to drugs was his way of shutting his mind off, trying to numb that pain. By 2004, things had spiraled even further. Just 5 days before his death, Caminiti stood in a Houston courtroom and admitted that he had once again violated his probation after testing positive for cocaine in September. This was his fourth violation. He was sentenced to 180 days in jail, but because of time already served, he was released. Sadly, his freedom would only last a few days. On October 10, 2004, Ken was at a friend's apartment in the Bronx, New York. That afternoon, he went into the bathroom and used what's known as a speedball, a dangerous mix of cocaine and heroin. Moments later, he stumbled out of the bathroom and collapsed on the floor. At 3:36 p.m., a 911 call was made as he went into cardiac arrest. Despite efforts to save him, Ken Caminiti passed away at Lincoln Hospital at 6:45 p.m. At first, the news reported that he had died of a heart attack, but the autopsy told the full story. The real cause was acute intoxication from the combined effects of cocaine and opiates. On top of that, he also had coronary artery disease and an enlarged heart, which only made things worse. It was a tragic ending to the life of a man who had once been on top of the baseball world. His talent was undeniable, but his struggles with addiction and the pain he carried with him proved stronger than even his toughest battles on the field. Even though Ken Caminiti's life ended far too soon, his career will always be remembered. The moments he gave on the field still live in the hearts of his fans. And today, we're going to look back at his journey to honor the great player he truly was. Caminiti's journey in professional baseball started in 1984, when the Houston Astros took a chance on him in the third round of the MLB draft. Like most young players, he had to pay his dues in the minor leagues before reaching the big stage. In 1985, he began with the Osceola Astros in the Single-A Florida State League. From there, he steadily worked his way up, and in 1986, he got promoted to Double-A with the Columbus Astros. That season was special because it was the first time in his professional career that he hit over 300. proving he had the talent to go further. He returned to Columbus in 1987 and only got better, raising his average to .325, blasting 15 home runs, and earning a spot in the Southern League All-Star Game. During the winters, he sharpened his skills by playing in Puerto Rico with the Indios de Mayagüez, where he shared the field with Wally Joyner. All of this built up to a moment he had dreamed of his whole life, making it to the major leagues. At just 24 years old, Caminiti finally got the call. On July 16, 1987, he debuted for the Houston Astros, and he didn't just show up, he made an immediate impact. In his very first game, he went 2 for 3 with a home run, a triple, and even scored the game-winning run. The Astros quickly realized they had someone special, and he started 51 of the team's last 75 games at third base that year. But his journey wasn't without setbacks. In 1988, despite the promise he had shown, Caminiti found himself back in the minors as the Astros gave veteran Denny Walling the starting role at third base. Even when Walling went down with an injury, the Astros didn't call Caminiti right away. They traded for veteran Buddy Bell instead. It wasn't until later in the season that Caminiti got another shot. Unfortunately, he struggled at the plate, batting just .176 over 3 weeks and was sent back down again. He only returned during September call-ups, finishing that year with a disappointing .181 average. Things started to turn around in 1989. With a new manager, Art Howe, taking over, Caminiti was finally named the Astros' starting third baseman. Over the next 6 seasons, he became a steady and reliable presence at the hot corner. Despite dealing with nagging injuries throughout his time in Houston, he managed to average .263 with 12 home runs and 69 RBIs each year from 1989 to 1994. He was part of a strong core of players that included Jeff Bagwell, Craig Biggio, Steve Finley, and Luis Gonzalez. Names that would all go on to have long and memorable careers. By the early 90s, the Astros were improving year after year, and Caminiti was a key part of that rise. In 1994, during the strike-shortened season, he set a new career high with 18 home runs and earned his very first All-Star selection, but change was coming. After that season, Houston decided to shake things up, partly to cut payroll and get younger. Caminiti was sent to the San Diego Padres in a massive 12-player trade, the biggest in the league since 1957. Moving to San Diego proved to be a turning point in Caminiti's career. In his first year with the Padres in 1995, he hit .302 with 26 home runs and 94 RBIs, numbers that easily marked the best season of his career up to that point. That same season, he won the first of 3 consecutive Gold Glove awards at third base. His switch hitting also made history when he became the first player ever to have 3 games with a home run from both sides of the plate. And incredibly, he did it all within just 4 days. Then came 1996, the year that defined him. Caminiti had the season of his life, batting .326 with 40 home runs and 130 RBIs, a single-season RBI record that still stands for the Padres. What made it even more legendary was the way he fought through pain. He played nearly the entire year with one injury after another, a torn rotator cuff, abdominal strain, biceps and elbow issues, back and hamstring problems, you name it. But he never stopped competing. One of the most famous stories from that season came on August 18th in Monterrey, Mexico. Caminiti was battling dehydration and diarrhea, hooked up to IV fluids, and eating just a Snickers bar for energy. Somehow, he went out and hit 2 home runs to lift the Padres over the Mets. That was Caminiti in a nutshell. No matter how much his body was breaking down, he found a way to deliver. His heroic season earned him his second All-Star appearance, and more importantly, the 1996 National League MVP award. Won unanimously, he remained productive in the following seasons. In 1997, he hit .290 with 26 home runs and 90 RBIs, even starting in the All-Star game for the National League. But by 1998, the wear and tear caught up with him, and his average dipped to 252. Still, that season brought him to his only World Series appearance, where the Padres faced off against the powerhouse New York Yankees. San Diego was swept, but Caminiti had finally reached the game's biggest stage. After the 1998 season, the Padres decided not to re-sign him, partly to save money. Caminiti was offered more elsewhere, but he chose to return to Houston on a $9.5 million deal. Astros general manager Jerry Hunsicker praised him as the ultimate gamer, and for a while, he lived up to that title. Injuries limited him to just 137 games across 1999 and 2000, but when he was on the field, he was still dangerous. In the 1999 NLDS against the Braves, he was nearly unstoppable, hitting .471 with 3 home runs and driving in more than half of Houston's total runs in the series. By 2000, though, his body gave out once again. A wrist injury ended his season in June, and by September, he left the team to enter rehab for substance abuse. His time with the Astros came to a close, and with it, so did the prime of his career. In 2001, Caminiti tried to start fresh, signing a $3.25 million deal with the Texas Rangers. But the magic just wasn't there anymore. He struggled at the plate, hitting only .232 through the first 3 months of the season. By July, he asked for his release, and the Rangers let him go. And that wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss out. We'll catch you in the next one. Take care.